Hello, and welcome to Sex, Drugs, and Everything Else. I'm your host, Alex Trust. For the next 30 minutes, I'm going to try and entertain you. Now, usually the show's 3 segments. First 2 segments are topical. Last segment is new artists that I find, writing songs, spoken word, whatever I can record and bring to you good people. But this week, I have to admit, I've been a little lazy, mostly because I've been really depressed. I'm sure you can understand that and give me a little slack. So for our second episode, we're going to do some music and we're going to read some writing, but we're not really going to get too topical. In the third episode, we are going to touch on the second thing promised in the title of the show, drugs. And that's going to take up a lot of that third episode, trust me. But for now, I'm going to fall back on the writing of T. O'Shea. You guys seem to like the excerpt from his novel Henchman last episode. So we're going to read chapters 2 and 3 from that. And then we're going to have some jazzy kind of freestyle spoken word by my man Splice. He's a hip-hop artist that puts his heart and soul in all of his music. So I hope you'll like it. So here we go. Let's get ready to rumble! Gods, I feel like freaking Peter Parker saying this shit. But she was the girl next door. Sarah Stevens was the love of my life from the age of 6 on. I was devoted to her from a distance, my love very unrequited for all of my youth. Sarah always was kind to me, though. Don't think she was one of those stuck-up bitches. You know, the cheerleader type that we mistype a lot of times. But we can't help it when they make fun of us, right? I interested her only as a friend, or maybe as a lab partner. I wasn't beneath her notice. She just noticed other boys the way I wanted her to notice me. We were friends, but I never had the balls to let her know how I really felt. This became my norm. Until the last week of senior year in high school. That's when it happened. That's when all this came into our lives and changed us irrevocably. We'd all seen the superheroes and supervillains battling it out on the 6 o'clock news. We'd seen the magazine covers. We'd gone to the movies based on their real-life exploits. We'd bought the t-shirts, the posters, the lunchboxes, the action figures. That was all just make-believe to us, though, even the news reports. There was something happening somewhere else that didn't involve us. It just wasn't our reality. Until suddenly it was. It was spring carnival, and I remember thinking it was one of the finest days I've ever seen. Blue skies, 75 degrees, sun shining and birds a-chirping. I remember feeling like anything was possible on a day like that. It was the first time I'd ever planned on telling Sarah how I really felt. We had made plans to meet up just before sunset at the big pavilion for a little dinner, maybe a dance. I was going to take her on a long romantic walk along the beach and unveil my heart to her. Boy, did that not work out at all. I approached the big pavilion right on time and saw her golden hair set on fire by the setting sun behind her, her lithe form haloed in warm light. Perfect. Our eyes met, and we both smiled. We moved toward each other. We moved toward our fate. When we were still about 20 feet apart, I noticed something other than the sun behind her. There was a rippling commotion through the crowd as others noticed it too. As I strained my eyes to focus through that setting sun, I saw real power in the flesh for the first time. Captain Victory, he set his thunderclap, his main offensive weapon, off at point-blank range, right into the face of the monstrosity, his enemy. By the time I'd noticed them, they were almost right above us. The monstrosity was knocked out of the air and plummeted right into the damn Ferris wheel, not 100 yards away from us. Something happens. I don't know what, but the pure kinetic force of the monstrosity's fall practically vaporizes the ride and everything around it. The crowd panics and start to stampede in every direction they think might be safe. Not Sarah, though. She stood as if transfixed, rooted to the spot as the monstrosity picked himself up out of the wreckage of twisted metal and body parts and launched his counter-strike against the captain. They were both on the ground now, and their massive powers colliding shook the earth and nearly knocked Sarah and I off our feet. We were the only ones still around, standing side by side, watching as titans fought. Like I said, it's one thing to see it on the news or in movies. It's something altogether different to witness such raw, elemental power with your own eyes. Captain Victory and the monstrosity were both Class A metahumans, and the forces that they unleashed with impunity were mind-blowing. Nothing should be allowed to be so powerful. Nothing should be able to make the rest of us feel so small. Sarah and I found each other's hands and held on for dear life. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, it was over. The captain punched the monstrosity so hard he flew off toward the horizon, and then the captain flew off after him, presumably to finish the job and take him to a jail he'd just bust out of 6 months from now. Sarah and I didn't say a word, didn't even look at each other. Our hands came unclasped. We walked home together. We never spoke of it, ever. It changed everything, though. After that, superheroes and villains were Sarah's passion. The study of metahumans and how they became that way became her holy grail, her reason for being. She ate, slept, bled over their epic battles. She existed for any scrap of information she could get on the real lives of these wondrous creatures. We both went off to the same university, as it happens, and I'd see her around campus, but we didn't speak much anymore. She was engrossed with her new super science friends, who had the same passions as she did. They wanted to harness and understand those vast and amazing powers. They wanted to categorize and quantify the impossible and amazing in order not to be made to feel so impotent by comparison. I myself took the opposite approach. I just tried to forget it. I tried to concentrate on my creative writing courses and smoking drugs and getting laid. You know, regular college type stuff. No matter how many lame stories I wrote or how good at drugs I smoked, I never could forget that day, though. The way watching those megaliths of flesh made me cower in my mind. The way standing next to Sarah with her hand in mine made me whole inside in a place I hadn't known was empty. Then something amazing happened. Sarah had been dating a big shot research student, Noel Harding. Noel was only 23, but already he had 2 PhDs and a government contract in R&D for metahuman processes. You see, there were several main avenues from which heroes and villains were born. The first was naturally. The subject was born with, or later developed their abilities. The second was by process of superscience, where an accident, or rarely, very rarely, on purpose, the subject gained their powers in the depths of some kind of ray, or beam, or machine, or radioactive bug, or lizard. Take your pick. There were other ways, of course. Ancient artifacts, alien technology, an alien parent, magic. Yes, I said it, magic. I've seen it. Don't believe in it, but I've seen it. And the list goes on. Super science was the coming thing, though, and Noel was its golden boy. With good reason, too. He actually succeeded. He managed to imbue himself with unheard-of powers and became Dr. Quantum. Sure, he could never reproduce the results and do it for anyone else, but he sure benefited. Sarah had been completely devoted to Noel, but when he became Dr. Quantum, he dumped her cold. She was devastated. That's how I found her that day. She was sitting beneath a big oak tree on the university common. She was crying. She was miserable. I went to her in friendship, but that's when it finally happened. Sarah saw me as a man and not just a friend. I wiped away her tears with kisses, and the happiest time of my life began. For over a year, we were inseparable. We did everything together, ate our meals together, bathed together, went to class together. We made love often and passionately, anywhere the mood took us. We were adventurous together, mischievous even. We brought out the best in each other. We brought out each other's light and filled each other's void. These were the best days of my life. They would soon end. Everything was going beautifully until that night. We just spent the day having a picnic and had made love on a blanket in a field of wildflowers. Picturesque, isn't it? We were exhausted but exhilarated. We came home and showered together, then snuggled up on the couch to watch a little TV. We didn't usually watch the news, too negative for us, but that night we did. Ah, fate. The lead story came on. It was him. Noel, Dr. Quantum. He developed an interstellar transporter and established trade and diplomatic relations with not one, but two benign alien races. This would likely change everything on our planet, from technology to political structure to social interaction between all human beings. It was one of the most important advances in the history of our world, and Sarah's ex was responsible. Get this, though. That tool actually called his device the Stargate, the little sci-fi plagiaring nerd. Wow. Sarah didn't say a word, not as we watched. But when the story was over and it went to commercial, she said, "Humph," and got up and just left. I didn't see her for 2 weeks. When she did come home, she was not the same woman. Her appearance was unkempt, her clothes filthy, hair a rat's nest. She was wild-eyed and almost frantic with maniacal energy. She ranted about the futility of her existence and a higher, noble purpose. She would spout random mathematical equations I had no hope of understanding. She was a mess. I took her in, treated her gently, cleaned her up, and put her to bed. She slept for 2 days, and when she awoke, there was a spark of the Sarah I knew and loved. I had hope. Things went back to a semblance of normalcy, except now we spent much less time together, as Sarah committed much of her every day to the university lab, pursuing her, what she called, noble purpose. She explained it to me thus when I would complain, and I quote, "Each of us has a destiny, a purpose to fulfill in our lifetimes. Some of us have a grand purpose, a noble truth to reveal, while others have smaller but just as important basic truths to expose to the world through their actions. Difference is based on skill, will, and desire. I have the highest levels of all three, so not only is it my destiny, but my responsibility to reveal my noble truth to the world through my tireless actions for the betterment of myself and mankind." Unquote. She would go on and on like that for as long as I'd let her. I took her point. I really did. I just didn't necessarily agree, not 100%. Hadn't we been happy? Shouldn't that be enough? Not for her, apparently. I had to sit still for it, though, if I wanted any part of her in my life. I watched as I lost her by degrees. Then one day, she was just gone. She'd finally done it. She found her noble truth. I call it just another super science lab disaster, but it did the trick. Sarah had been mucking about with Z-rays and the 8th dimension and hit the jackpot. She'd managed to make herself into a Class A metahuman. She became the Silver Smoke. She left me flat, just as Noel had done to her. I haven't spoken with her since. Back at Professor Calamity's secret lair, some of my men celebrated, while others sat about dejectedly, their armor half off and laying around them piecemeal. It was an easy division to figure out. The team who had blown up the foundations of the Philip Morris building had had a relatively easy time of it. They'd been protected by Dr. Calamity's mech, and they hadn't faced Sunscorch. So they had reason to celebrate. Well, those of us who had faced Sunscorch at the top of the world, that top of that building, we were just exhausted, soul-sick. We'd been through terror and pain, watched too many of our brothers in arms die horrifying deaths at the hands of such an implacable power. Mother effing Sunscorch. Sunscorch was no more. That's a weird thought. Sunscorch, whom I had killed. That's even a stranger thought. Well, technically, it was the professor's device, and that's how it was already being portrayed in the media. We'd caught some of the early broadcasts on the way back to the lair. Professor Calamity slays Sunscorch, they were proclaiming. No one could believe a middle-of-the-road supervillain like the Prof could have pulled it off. Everyone was looking for explanations, and that would inevitably lead back to me. The media might be crediting the Prof now, but the evil underground knew what was what. I would be credited with pulling the trigger, with actually accomplishing the deed, and then they would find me. You know, the guerrilla underground journalist who worked entrenched with all the best supervillains, kind of like they used to work with combat units in the old conventional land wars. They lived with us, went on missions with us, and made us into stars in our own rights. Well, they made stars of our bosses anyway. The covers of Time, Newsweek, Rolling Stone, etc., have been graced with some of the worst of the worst. The Monstrosity, Dark Shadow, Green Clown Killer, that goddamn psychopath, and even that alien terror, Megastrike. The guerrilla media made them all into icons, and they'd be coming for the Prof, and then for me. I didn't get in this game to end up on a lunchbox. I was starting to remember that now. I did it for power. I did it for revenge. But most of all, I did it for a sense of purpose in my life. Something to replace Sarah. Hell, maybe being an action figure wouldn't be so bad. There's power of a sort in that. Commercial power. I'd be infamous for all time. The man who killed a legend. The mere henchman that defeated the mighty Sunscorch. Yeah, maybe I like the sound of that. Okay, what'd you think of that? Chapters 2 and 3 just as good as Chapter 1. I hope you like it. Now, we're going to listen to that spoken word, jazzy type of freestyle from my man Splice that I promised you. You ready? Here we go.
Splice, think twice. King Loki, God of the mischief, and the misfits. We all in here. Hope everybody's safe. Y'all families stick together, stay separate, and be safe. So contradictory, right? Stick together, stay separate, be safe. Exclusive freestyle. Yo, when I wake up, I stay up, I be up, all the way for the way up, because I'm on my way up to do it bigger, better things than I've been doing. So I've been proving to myself that I can do it. See, this ain't nothing but a freestyle. I'm all around, my mind is thinking the things that I can say right now. And I can't understand that, because I keep on reading other things that I'm seeing, and I ain't reading from a damn page of a book that I wrote down nothing. I'm shook and I'm looking all around now. Everybody telling me that I should stay up in my house, and everybody telling me to get the fuck away. But that's some shit I heard all of my life. I'm thinking nothing but twice about all of these lies that I've been hearing on the news. Can't you see that they're telling you that this is worse than it really is? But the fact of the matter remains that it is some kind of epidemic of some sort. But of course, somebody made it, and even if they didn't, I'm wondering why our lives are given so much more trials. But I guess it's a life lesson that we be learning through, to grow through, and grow to be a new version of you and me and you are who we can be, to grow to be the best envisionment that we can envision it with, to be our mentality. And if you in the house all alone and bored, why don't you get on your computer and learn something more? Cause that's what I've been doing. I've been trying to get my vocabulary better than it ever has been, but it's scary to me, because I have not been the type of person that was really good at learning till I hit a certain age. And I guess I'm at that certain age to be learning more and waking up. Stay woke, bro. Stay doing what you gotta do. Just love each other, even if it's at a distance, cause distance can keep existence. That's what they're telling me. So I guess now I believe that distance can keep existence. So I guess we got the power. Once again, I stay up on the way up. I'ma wake up. Believe what? That I could be better than I ever have been in the past, my friend. I'm looking back at that and then and what I was and who I am able to grow to be. A different version of me, a unique me. A new unique me is what I meant to say, but I let it go a different way, so I spoke it differently. I guess some of you might see that as whack, but in fact, I ain't changed my voice up in none of these tracks. These is all freestyles, these are all recorded. From my tablet to my speaker to the phone, to my voice coming through the phone, to the speaker, through the tablet. And I'm grabbing at the grasping, and I'm grasping at the fact that I got talent, and I can do it, I can use it to my advantage. Man, I'm at an advantage in this life, cause they told me to stay home, so I'ma stay home and I'ma write. But y'all ain't hearing nothing that I write. Y'all is hearing nothing but these freestyles. Looking all around now at the way the world has changed. I said it before, I said it in 2018, that everything would change in 2020. Something weird would happen. Nobody would notice exactly what right away, but soon they will all say and understand that they can finally see what I can finally see. Finally see, I've been seeing it all my life. All of the bullshit and through all of the lies. Why do humans gotta treat each other the way this be? We need to treat each other better. But I don't think better can be better than it can be. If you can be the best of you, and I can be the best of me, and it can't get any better, you'll see. But if you keep trying, we don't have to keep on lying, said the government. Fuck them. We need a new source of power. We need the people to stand together. Maybe this is our hour. Just to say it truthfully, maybe this is our hour. Maybe we can unite, come together. Brothers, sisters, cousins, aunties, uncles, mothers, fathers, grandmas, grandpas, everybody. Sons and daughters, everybody, come together. Maybe we can form a different way that this country can be ran. Maybe we can formulate a plan where nobody has to worry about somebody making up some random ass disease and unleashing it upon the world just to get what they think that they need. They don't need what they're trying to get. They just want what they want. And they're gonna get it by any means necessary. COVID-19, y'all.
So, what'd you think of that? My man Splice, I don't know, he broke it down, he broke it up, he broke me up a little bit. I liked it. Hope you did too. So that's going to do it for this episode of Sex, Drugs, and Everything Else. Like I told you last time, if you have any questions or comments, please go to sexdrugsandeverythingelse@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. Seriously, the more you feedback you give me, the better this show can become. I want this to be a dialogue between you, my listeners, and myself. All right. May love and gratitude brighten all your days. Peace.